The temptations of Christ are famous, and again, as I mentioned, we discussed in Bible study that he went through it so that, as Hebrews says, that God could always say to us, or he would say to us through his word, that he has been through what we go through and he understands what we feel, and he does know the troubles I've seen. He does know the troubles you've seen. He is able to understand what you go through and what you experience, and he is able to help you through, and he gives you the grace and the power to do so. Sometimes temptation is just a real minor thing. I went to the dentist last week, and the hygienist was cleaning my teeth, and for several days before I went to the dentist, I had gotten real faithful about flossing, and I had not done very well before that flossing, and she's a very polite, courteous young lady, and that was the first time I'd been to her. And she said, "What's up with the flossing?" And I said, "Well, not much." And she said it was real obvious to her that I had not flossed much. And God bless her, she made it sound like the bacteria between the teeth were having a party, and she made a joke out of it. That they were getting together and celebrating and having lots to eat, and they were having fun and all this sort of thing. And she was a delightful Christian lady, and she's working on my mouth, and it was all I could do to stop laughing. So it was a good way to get a message across that I really needed to get more serious about flossing, and so she didn't lay a heavy load on me or anything. I just decided myself that I would try and do that every day, and I have for a whole 5 days now. Real proud of myself. Hope to continue, and my mouth feels cleaner. Wow, it's great. And she complimented me as well, pointing out that, wow, at your age you have all your teeth, and that is a good thing. It's good to have them, and the dentist said, you need to floss around the ones you want to keep. So I said, okay. So in terms of temptation, the temptation sometimes may or may not lead us to something that's sinful, but I would just call it, in this case, it was laziness, that why I have not flossed like I should and ought to. And I don't know whether it's a sin or not, but I'll leave that to God. Some of our stuff that we do is of course a little more serious and is sinful. But it's up to God to decide whether it is and how serious it is and all that. Early this morning in the darkness, I was checking out here on 4th Street, as I often do, just to see how things look before Sunday morning service. Hardly anybody comes in there, but we wish they would. And somebody had scattered about 18 items all around out there. They were personal hygiene items and travel size toothpaste and shampoo and so forth. And there was I will readily admit there was a temptation there right away to get angry and to judge somebody not knowing who it is, but just thinking to myself, why would someone who was probably homeless and who probably was given this stuff by somebody, why would they just throw it all over the front of a church? But anyway, a better thought came. I was tempted to do that, but I missed taking that temptation. I said a prayer for that person right away, whoever they are, and prayed that they were okay, because as I say, I suspect it's someone homeless who was just sitting there for a while and then left the stuff. And some of our temptations are, of course, much more serious, and Jesus went through a few of them and gives us the way to deal with them. And of course, this is Matthew 4, and in Matthew 5 to 7, he's going to talk, in the Sermon on the Mount, he's going to talk about many things that are good and things that are not good. He's going to give us the Lord's Prayer. And I'm remembering about a child who was learning the Lord's Prayer and was learning it wrong because, children don't always hear the words exactly. And the child prayed, "Forgive us our trash that we put in their baskets, and forgive them the trash that they put in our baskets." And in place, instead of "forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those." But one of the things about temptation, Jesus was tempted to eat when he had been fasting, which is not surprising. There's a temptation about food, which is something good, which can become more than we need. And he gives the Word. It's always the Word that he gives to overcome temptation. One does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes forth from the mouth of God, quoting Deuteronomy. That's one answer to temptation. Then, throw yourself down if you're the Son of God, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you. See, the devil knows Scripture too. He was quoting Psalm 91. And Jesus, again, gave him the answer to that. You shall not put the Lord your God to the test. The temptation there that we sometimes expect God to do everything, but we have something to do. And we need to do our part. He will not do our part, and He will not expect us to do His part. We are to work with Him. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, Philippians 4:13, and He will give us the strength to endure the temptations, but He doesn't expect us to be what He is concerning temptation. And the final temptation, the devil took him to a high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. And basically the temptation to, if you get enough stuff, if you get enough power, you will be happy. And the excessive need for control, which is not only the mighty and the powerful and the rich that have that. Sometimes we who have a lot less can try to be very controlling and very, very greedy. And he gives a scripture there again, worship your God only and serve Him. And the devil left him. And that'll be what happens to our temptations too. As I mentioned in Bible study, sometimes people who don't believe would like to try to impress upon us that there can't possibly be a God who cares because of all the evil in the world. And I pointed out that it's always good to respond that an obvious answer is that if there were not a God, we would be overcome by evil. There is so much good in the world that testifies to the presence and the power of God. And without Him, surely we would self-destruct and implode, and we would all be blind and toothless, and the big bombs would have been set off a long time ago. But with God's help, the temptations of all kinds can be resisted. And James is the answer. Resist him, and he will flee. That's the Word, and the Word is true, and it works. And all we have to do is work it.